Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you quit that JOB, that just overbroke job, by investing in real estate so you never ever have to work a job again. Today, I'm super blessed to bring on a fantastic friend of mine who is an expert in helping people utilize their retirement accounts, like literally your retirement account that normally goes to 401ks, or it's a 401k, but goes to like stocks and mutual funds and things that you have no control over. He's an expert in helping us as real estate investors to invest in many of the things, from real estate to crypto to, if we want to do stocks, but in businesses. But we do a self-directed IRA. But I brought on a fantastic expert. He is a part of the American IRA. They're a fantastic company. Love them. AmericanIRA.com. You definitely want to check them out. But I brought on a fantastic guest who's going to walk us through everything that we need to know about how we can use our retirement account to invest in real estate. I brought on my friend Kyle Moody on the show. Kyle, thank you so much for being here, buddy.
Hey, man, Dustin, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for the invite.
Man, this is fantastic. So I'll jump right to it and say that I personally hate investing in stocks because I have no control over it. And honestly, when you think about it, it's literally rich people that are taking your money and then doing whatever they want to, and hopefully your stock is going to go up. And at the same time, I want you to kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but as I see the 401k, now a lot of people believe in it. I'm not saying that it's evil, but I'm saying it's not good. And here's the reason why I say it. Back a long time ago, they had a pension. Companies had pensions, and what the company would do was provide for their employees after retirement. And that was a pension. But then the rich people have said, you know what? That's a lot of work on our end. We have to guarantee all this sort of, like, let's not have it on us. Let's put it on the employee now and have a 401k. But here's the diabolical thing. The 401k, the IRA, it's just literally the tax code. Then they say, let's have them invested back into our companies. let's put that money back into our company so we get that money. So it's like employees think they get the money, but it goes into an account that then goes back to the rich people. Anyways, that's kind of how I see a 401k. But the fact that we could take that back now and still have a retirement account, invest in other things. Am I off base in this?
Well, I appreciate that. Some of the ways that I look at it are the ways that I was really, being groomed and learning about it myself, both the self-directional side of things. But then when I started investing, back when I had a job that didn't revolve around helping folks in a self-directed IRA, and I can remember sitting in those meetings with my financial advisor, and I can honestly tell you that I didn't know anything more when I left than when I showed up. And quite frankly, I was probably more confused than anything, because to your point, you're handing over your stuff to somebody, say, well, do this, small cap, mid cap, to somebody, or there are some people out there who might understand why some stock is worth $10 a share as opposed to $12 a share, or vice versa. I'm not one of those people. Okay, so you ask me stocks, bonds, mutual funds questions, and we're both going to be doing a lot of shoulder shrugs. However, what I understand in back professions, and then how I came to be here at American IRA, I understand the real estate end of things and all of its multiple facets. And so, yes, the ability for someone to take these accounts that you've already talked about, a 401k, an IRA, a Roth, or whatever it is, and know that they now have the option to be able to take those same retirement dollars and use those to invest instead of Apple. You're now investing in Apple Street. Oh, it's a whole new world, and people are loving it. One of the things, and this is where your folks will say, "Oh, I want to do this." One thing to keep in mind is that most of the time, if somebody says, "Hey, I'm still working," I always like to qualify folks. Is this a 401k from a job where you're still working, or is this from a previous employer? Now, the 401k and what they might still be doing is no longer matched, but they may still have it in 401k status, but it's from their previous employer. all day long, we can definitely roll that over. They can roll that over. If they're still working at that job, it's important to know, and this is actually a good key phrase for everybody to know right out of the gate. I'm not saying it's impossible for you to use that 401k, but you're going to need to go back to your HR or to your 401k administrator at that point and ask them, am I eligible for an in-service rollover? And if they say yes,
wait, hold on.
then you can move.
What was that? Keywords?
Yeah, the key phrase that you're going to want to ask someone, if you are still employed, where you have it may be your only 401k that you have, and you're looking to invest that money, and you think that with the way this conversation has started out, oh, I can use my 401k, but I've only been there for a couple of years. Can I do an in-service rollover? Most of the time, you're going to hear no. At best, especially if you're a newer employee, if you're not fully vested, you're going to hear, well, yes, but there may only be a certain percentage of it. But once you become separated from that company, then that's where we see the majority, if not all, the rollovers coming over. And the great thing is that if the stock market is doing well and you like what any of your accounts are doing, but you also know that you want to invest in a private equity or a syndication of some sort, or do a private note, or get into a piece of real estate, you can diversify your accounts. And that way you still got your stock market doing what it's doing, and you've got a couple pieces of real estate that are also providing for you as well.
There's a quote that I really love. It's not if you lose your job or get fired, it's when. And so I think, I was fired from I want to say fired. I was laid off. They just, the county department that I was working for didn't have enough money. Like it was 2010 or 12. Like just that whole bad time, bad economy and everything, that they just had layoffs.
You were invited to leave.
There you go. Yep. No severance or anything. It's just, hey, we just laid you off. So, but it's everybody. Everybody needs to realize this. And this is something that I preach on all the time, is that what we need to do as people who are not made to constantly work all day, every day for 40 plus years of life, and then retire at 65, 70 years old and live on 40% of what we managed to save that entire time that we worked a just over broke job. If you're that, let's say 10 or 15% of the population who is like us, that are real estate investors, that we know that we want to take our own, I guess, our lives in our own hands, as opposed to putting it in somebody else's hands, then we start realizing, man, there's other opportunities out there. So I would think more than likely there's quite a few people that have something like that, like their ability to do that. Now, let's talk a little bit about if they have the opportunity, and let's say either they're working on a job and they are able to the in-service, what was it, the key terms?
The in-service rollover, specific when they're thinking about coming out of a 401k.
Got it. Then, but obviously if they have one that they've already left a job and it's just sitting there, they can utilize that as well, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, rollover with no problem. Yeah.
So on my, everything that I do, we talk about how to invest in real estate. We just need the financing and the funds. What I love is having lots of options and access to capital. That's the big thing. Private money, your home equity line of credit, business line of credit, hard money, conventional loans, like you name it. And for us as real estate investors, we have a 401k, or let's say an IRA. Now they're really close, right? We can also borrow from self-direct an IRA as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Folks are going to have, well, as a matter of fact, if they're rolling out of a 401k, 9.5 times out of 10, they're going to be opening the self-directed traditional IRA, because those are both your 401k. You want to kind of qualify yourself and say, well, what funds do I have in there? And no kidding, Dustin, it'll amaze you the number of people that don't even know. They may not know how much money they have in there, but they don't even know what kind of money they have in there. Is it all pre-taxed funds, i.e. the traditional tax-deferred funds, or is there a smattering of Roth funds in there as well? So that's tax-free. Well, then if they have a little bit of both, they can actually open up a self-directed traditional and a self-directed Roth, roll that money into both. Well, then you can get really creative and say, well, I want to now, convert my funds after talking to my CPA into, all Roth. Man, every investment they make from there on out is going to be with tax-free funds, and every single bit of that profit is they're going to reap. They'll never pay a dime in taxes on that either.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
And think about,
it can get really cool. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to just invest in real estate. Now,
Right.
Kyle, we can invest in crypto, can't we, with our retirement account?
You can. There's going to be an added layer to that with us, and it's actually we can dive right into this layer because it's something that we like to talk about with a group of folks. I'm gonna shift a little bit to say that sometimes I will get a phone call and folks will say, "Hey, I need to get an LLC set up because I've got to buy this real estate and hold it in it," and I will talk to them and say, "Well, look." It is not my job to ever talk somebody out of something. I really can't ever push anything on anybody either. This is a different type of sales world. Okay. I educate and inform more than anything so that people are able to take all that information um, and really make their financial decision on what they want to do. Remember, we're just record keepers in the grand scheme of things. We are not fiduciaries. We're not financial
So
advisors.
we
But
can't
one,
invest in crypto?
you can, but you are actually going to need with us the layer of the LLC. And it's also known on the street out there as the checkbook IRA. So we would never, and as far as I know, pretty much any of the companies out there, they're not going to allow you to hold crypto. They're not going to hold the crypto directly. So what you would do, you would still open up your IRA like you normally would. But then the true asset that we, as the IRA company, are going to hold is now going to be the LLC. So, and everything has a process. So the IRA gets created first, then the LLC is created because the IRA is the single member to that LLC, not Dustin Heiner personally. Dustin can be the manager of it, but then Dustin is going to park that LLC at a banking institution of his choice and then direct us to move the retirement funds into the LLC. Now you still have the same retirement dollars, arm's length, but able to be custodied somewhere that will hold that crypto. So then you can go out and do all your crypto investing the way you want to. And it's that flexible and arm's length way that you're able to still hold that totally with self-directed dollars.
And so you use key words that I want to emphasize, like the in-house rollover, right? And then also the arm's length. Arm's length is very, very crucial for the IRS to say, yes, this is legitimate. You can use your retirement accounts if you have it as arm's length. Like you're not touching it. Like when you're investing in real estate, you have cash going in and out because you have expenses, you have income and all this stuff, but you cannot physically put it into your own personal bank account. That's not arm's length. That's right in your pocket. That's right in there.
Yeah.
So talk us through the arm's length, especially like if somebody wants to, I get it. Create an LLC. We can use that LLC to invest in crypto. All that, like, I understand that, but like, we can also invest in businesses. We can all like create an LLC from that. We can invest in real estate. We can invest in a lot of different things. What is that arm's length? Like, is there any way in real estate, or have you seen any in real estate investors get caught up where they don't keep something at arm's length and they get in trouble?
I mean, here's what I'll tell you. If they have ever spoken to me coming through my sales pipeline, having conversations just like this, I mean, this really sounds no different than a phone call that I have with someone. They ask a lot of questions. They need to figure out some things. And it really doesn't matter their level of investment prowess. It's funny how I will still answer some of the same questions from a newbie all the way up to a very seasoned investor. Sometimes more of the seasoned investors are, I can tell when somebody is asking me questions because maybe they've talked to other companies and they've already been told no. And they're looking to get me to do nothing more than to say yes, that, hey, I want to be able to get this property. And I will kind of figure out, they're going to go down and they're going to use that lake place on the weekends. They may rent that out, 47 weeks out of the year, but those remaining 5 weeks out of the year, they're going to use that from time to time, and you can't. Okay, so you can never spend one night in there. Depending on the disqualified parties, to your retirement account. Well, I'm going to invest in this raw piece of land. My brother, or my dad has a grading company, and they're going to go in and take care of grading that lot for us. And then I'm a contractor, so I'm going to go in and build the house. But then after that, we're going to rent the thing out all the time. We're never going to stay there. Well, that whole end part is fantastic, but everything that you said leading up to it, it is not arm's length. So you, your spouse, any entity that you control, anyone in your upline and your downline and their spouses can't ever have anything to do with that property. So in essence, I will say, after we delve into these things and I give the information that people really need to know and how to treat these accounts, I generally don't have anything coming back where someone has messed up.
Totally. I'm glad you shared that, because somebody might think, well, what if I create a company that my LLC hires and I have my brother run it or something? You just want to make sure, and talk, like, for everybody listening, for you listening, you definitely need to be talking to somebody who knows what they're doing in, like, American IRA, who I suggest that everybody should go to, because they're going to make sure that you do it right, because they don't want to get in trouble too for letting you do it wrong. So they're going to make sure you do it right. Now, it sounds complicated for a normal real estate investor that we want to use our retirement funds and utilize American IRA and create this account, or this retirement account, and then be able to invest in real estate, because we have money going in and money coming out. That's something that we're going to have to contend with. Like, what are the steps of us as real estate investors to actually utilize a 401k and then use that money for our future retirement from rental properties?
It is actually a very streamlined process. There are steps. They have to be done in order. There's some part of the process that is a step that the IRS throws in there that we can't get around. But it is everything from, I'll give you a very short answer on how long. Here's what I get. Kyle, I got a deal. There's a property that I want to invest in. How long would it take me to invest in that property with a self-directed IRA? We've never spoken. I don't know where their account is, but assuming that everything all lines up, I'll say, you know what, from this phone call, assuming that you do everything that you're supposed to do, you get back to us with any corrections needed, both between the account establishment, the funding of the account, the working on the investment kit and everything, to the time that we are able to now take your funds and move that to the closing date on the property. I tell them to figure within 30 to 40 days. Okay. Now there's a lot that happens, and they need to stay on task. You don't want someone that'll get 3/4 of it done, but that last quarter, that's a lot of stuff. Like, we need your money in your account so that we can pay for this. But it's everything from it's an application that is multi-stepped. We have now front-loaded this new application process into our new platform, to where you're not only filling out an application, but you're actually building your own portal in our system. Okay. Gives the client more autonomy to initiate things, see a lot of things. Oh, and by the way, since we're American IRA and we're known as really one of the only companies out there these days that picks up the phone and everybody's in the office, that you have the ability to talk to your transaction specialist, talk to client services, and have the autonomy of your portal all in one. All right. So you fill out the application. It comes in. It's going to take about 4 days to get everything set up on that. It's pretty extensive. A couple layers of compliance. Then the next step is, if it's a rollover, generally rollovers, we're going to get the cash a little faster. But your outbound custodian is going to be the one that's going to facilitate those funds to get those over to us. Okay. Once those come in, we let you know that it's there. If it's coming from a like-to-like account, so a traditional or a Roth account, well, in that case, we're going to facilitate the move of those funds. All right. Everything gets into us. And by the way, it's going to take probably a week to 10 days on a rollover. Can happen faster. And if it does, great. It's going to take 2 to 3 weeks on the transfers to get in. Probably isn't going to be any faster than that. So I tell folks, let me pause here to say this. If You know that you've got something coming up, get the account open, get it funded, do everything you can do as quickly as possible before you ever even go out and look at a property, fall in love with something. Because even after the account is opened, and this is the next step, the IRS has a 7-day right of rescission period on the opening of that account. So you can't even make the investment until the 8th day, which is going to be a moot point anyway, because like I just said, we're not going to have the money for 2 to 3 weeks. All right. Then, but in the meantime of us waiting for your funds to show up, our staff is going to work with folks to help them start getting their paperwork lined up for the investment. And that's really cool because we can go ahead and do the verbals and the sign-offs on everything, so that now all of us are waiting for is the cash to show up. And then you got a 4-day turn on all that. So again, this phone call to a closing, figure 30 to 40 days. Could it take a tad longer? Depends on anything. Anything can happen. Could it happen faster? Yes.
I personally, in anything I do in life, real estate investing, obviously, especially, but anything business wise, I personally hate when things are waiting on me, because I know it's going to wait on other people. Absolutely no.
Oh, yeah.
They're not as driven as I am to get things done. Like if I'm going to close on a property, sign a contract with a seller, whatever it might be. So anything that's waiting on me, I try to make sure it get done as fast as possible as well. You know, it has to be done right, but I don't want it to wait on me, because deals die or go someplace else if you are not moving forward. So 100%, if you're going to be doing anything worthwhile, do it right and do it well and do it fast. Not fast where you're going to make it bad, but you're actually taking care of everything and getting everything done. So I love that. Now, what are some, because gets me thinking, like, what are some pitfalls? Arm's length, absolutely. You covered that.
Sure.
Is there any other pitfalls that we should be thinking of that, hey, watch out for this, or we've seen this, or maybe you have any stories of an investor that's literally done X, Y, and Z and it came back to bite them or anything like that?
The only thing that I would say that stands out to me, that I'll just say, is anything that involves your due diligence. Okay. That is not going to have anything to do really with American IRA or your self-directed account. It's just that, well, I guess really your self-directed account, because it has funded your deal. But just like someone does due diligence on a piece of real estate, you got an inspector that goes out. Now, look, this may be off market. You might not want to know what's going on with that property, but inspections are always great back in my days in real estate, right? And again, and that due diligence can involve so many things. That's just on the house alone. All right. You know what you're buying, you know what you want. For folks that are dealing with borrowers, okay, because some folks may say, look, I don't want to be boots on the ground. I don't want to get my hands dirty. I really don't want to have anything to do with the real estate. And that's fine. That may be how they've made their money, but they can say, but I don't have a problem with lending my money out to everybody who wants to be like me. Okay. So let's say you're going to now be a hard money lender with your retirement account. The one thing that I can say, that of just the horror stories I've heard, whether they're using a self-directed account or not, is do your due diligence on your on your borrower as well. Interview people that have lent to them before. Find out what their payment parameters have been, what the payment, have they paid on time? Have they paid off on time? And so that is one of the things that I'll say. Other things is let's go back to real estate for a second. Know exactly what you're going to do with the real estate, and know exactly, let's say, who this is going to be for. A creative or an exact example that I can give: hey, I want to buy a couple of condos or a duplex in a college town. They bought this with their self-directed IRA when their kid was 16. In 2 years, their kid goes to college, and they just happen to go to the college in the same town where this duplex is. Your kids can't even spend one night there. Okay. You can't put them in one, rent out the other one. You can't put them in one and rent out the other bedroom. Okay. It doesn't work that way. So know who your disqualified parties to your account are. And like I said, it's you. It's your spouse. It's any entity that you control. Oh, well, I'm gonna loan these funds to my LLC so that my company can't do that. Okay. I'm gonna have I'm gonna buy this rental property down at the beach. I can't wait to send my parents down there. They can stay next door. Can't stay in the property that's owned, because remember, here's the thing: that property is never yours personally. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your retirement account, and that is what creates all the difference in the rules. The other things I'll tell you too, Dustin, really quick, is that real estate brokers, this is how they make their living. They trying to tell a real estate broker, and you're talking to a guy who still has his license, watching a real estate broker know that they can't broker their own deal and take a commission, or even cut the rate on a commission on an investment property that they're going to buy with their self-directed IRA. Kick that to somebody else in the brokerage. Kick it to a friend of yours that is a real estate broker. You can't broker your own deals. Okay. Business partners who might be your attorney, find another attorney to close that. There's so many things like this that you need to, it's not just, I want to use this money to buy a property. Wonderful. So I probe a little bit, but it's not my job or anybody else in the industry to figure out if something is going to be prohibited. That strictly is all on you. I'll ask a couple of qualifiers, and I will really only tell somebody if something appears to be prohibited, if it's just a glaring red flag. Hey, I'm going to buy this house. It's going to be our weekend place. We're going to go to the farm and use it on the weekends. Okay, you can't do that. That's not going to work. But if it's a business deal where we're investing into this LLC that's going to invest in this other LLC, there's going to be multiple parties, and it's really an onion at this point. It will not be the self-directed IRA company's job to peel back all the layers of this onion, because something, quite frankly, can look as disqualified and prohibited as possible. It can actually be squeaky clean when you get to the heart of it. Something can actually look great on the front end, but what somebody isn't going to tell you is really the part that's going to be prohibited. So sometimes you just never know by looking at it.
Yeah, and I think also, to add to that, the reason why you and I hit it off, and Rebecca, who works there as well, you guys are terrific people. We have the same, it's hard for me to do business with people that I don't really get along with. Not saying that there's anything wrong with them. It's just like a hard personality or hard relationship. It's just, life's too short to do that. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I really like Kyle and Rebecca. I like American IRA. And then here's the other part. Number one, liking you guys, number one, that was great. But then number two, seeing the other self-directed companies get consolidated or bought up and just they become corporate, and it's just a bunch of numbers, and let's get as many people in the door, and it's not about the people. It's not about the customer that they're serving. Not saying that everyone's like that. It just seems like that as it gets more corporate, companies are conglomerate, like buying everything up, things start to fall apart. But I don't see that at American IRA. I see you guys are very intentional at making sure you're answering questions. Everybody's in the office. You're answering calls. It's not like a call center in India or something like that. Not sure if anybody else ever does that, but it's not a conglomerate. You guys are still small family. Just awesome people that work together. So I love that about American IRA. Is there any other thing that, as we're working with American IRA and saying, you know what, we want to start investing, is there anything we could have missed, or any question that would have been a good question for me to ask?
Well, first of all, let me go back and say thank you so much for the accolades of what you said about myself and the company, and of course, Rebecca, and I will pass that on to her. And for those of you who don't know who he's talking about, Rebecca is our COO. And really quickly, because this is something that has also been kind of a core to our relationship, has been our faith. And one thing I will say is that Dustin and I shouldn't be talking to any of you. You should not see me right now on here, and I should not know who Dustin is unless somebody else bumped into him, told me about it, and then he and I, developed a relationship later on. I'll tell you why. Because I wasn't supposed to be at the conference where Dustin was. I wasn't supposed to be there. Had some other things going on. I was juggling a very hectic schedule. And at the 11th hour, I hopped in my truck and I drove to Atlanta. My CEO didn't even know. He was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm going to Atlanta." He goes, "You're going?" I was like, "Yeah," because I didn't think you were going. Anyway, I make it down to Atlanta. It was that evening. I had helped the lady set up the table and everything. We went up, we changed all this other kind of stuff. And I come back down, and there was that reception. And I'm talking to a couple people, and this one guy who I just know I hadn't seen in a long time, he said, "Oh, I want to introduce you to a couple of people." And I turn around and he goes, "Oh, look at this guy coming here. And it's you. And you're walking towards me." And I'm like, "Who's that?" Now I felt bad because what I later learned is that I was the only person in the entire hotel who didn't know who Dustin Ryan was. And I know now. And Dustin comes over, and we just clicked, and I want to say it was a little bit later on that night, but it was definitely the next morning. We were standing there waiting to get our pictures taken. And I said, what's really interesting is, I was like, it's obviously not on my own doing, but I find that God puts the right people in my path at the exact moment that I need them. And there you were. And you said, well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because one of one of the things that I found to be different from you as a salesman and from some of these other companies is that it's not really about the next client. It's about the education. And then,
Absolutely. Did I lose you?
You educate that the sales are going to come. Okay. So that's really what we're all about, is the education and the information. And then you parlay that to where you learn more and more about our company. And to your point, yes, we are not the biggest company out there. We're not the smallest, but I've also seen what has happened to some of the big companies out there. And our clients, what they really love is that when they call into our office, we pick up the phone. It is not a call center. It is not a phone tree. It drove me a little nuts when they first put the little thing that we've just recently put on that says, "Thank you for calling American IRA. This call may be monitored for training purposes," or whatever. And then the recording cuts off. Well, then it's just all real people. But that still drives me nuts because, there was never been a recording of anything. It's been us. If our receptionist Vivian is out of the office, you're going to get somebody else on the phone, or in the office is going to pick up the phone. And we delivered that hometown bank feel to where a client feels like who they are, not just the account number that they possess. You are going to know who your transaction specialist is. And if that person isn't in, well, they're all in the same room. So everybody can hear people talking about your account. It's a team. And the emails is when they go out now, we say, "Hey, team," because, it's really one product, one movement, because it's not about us. It is more about the people on the outside of the four walls. And if you don't cater to all of them, then it doesn't really matter what's going to be going on the inside of the four walls much longer. And so that's what we really try to do, is that it's about the client first. Being able to deliver in the parameters that we're able to operate. Are we perfect? No, nobody is. But that's why it's so important that I like to share, here are your responsibilities as a client. It is self-directed. It is not, I'm going to kind of do this self-directed. I'm going to wait for Kyle to tell me what to do. Kyle's never going to tell you to do anything. He might encourage you, but not gonna direct you yourself to do anything. And that is really what has allowed us to grow, have a good name in the industry, and continue on in our 21st year.
I love it. And when we met, and I'm 100% agreement with you, when we met, it seemed like God was working everything out. Like it was fantastic. But at the same time, I know, or at least my belief is that the idea of the word coincidence, I think it's a lie. Honestly, I think it's a lie that there's such a thing. Oh, it's just a coincidence that we happen to be here. No. I don't think that God's like controlling us like robots, but
sure,
He directs our path. And if it's a coincidence, that's someone trying to convince us that it's not God's plan. So 100% agree. It was so great meeting you and Rebecca there, seeing your guys' team there, seeing you treat the people that were at the event as well, seeing how you guys were treating it. It was fantastic. Now we can get to help other people to invest in real estate and even use their retirement account. Now, Kyle, everybody needs to follow you, American IRA. How can they reach out to you? Like maybe follow you on Instagram, or like how can they connect you? Even start working with you guys.
Yeah. So I tell you what, I'm going to do a couple of things here to show you how serious I am about how you're able to reach me. I'm part of the sales team here, and I'm going to give you a direct number here. It's going to come right here. This phone is my desk line. And boy, people have been trying to get a hold of me. But
hold on. Are you sure that you want to give this out? Because this goes out to a lot of people.
This is you're getting my direct number.
Okay.
Yeah. It will. You won't even talk to the receptionist when you dial this number. I'm going to pick up and it's going to be me. And that number is 828-412-8123. And either like you've done before, Dustin, when you've done a mutual introduction of somebody in an email to me, folks, if you know Dustin, you don't know me yet, but you know Dustin. If you want him to make the introduction, that's great. He's going to email the two of us. But if you ever want to reach me directly and say, hey, I heard you through Master Passive Income. I've heard Dustin talk about you. I saw you at the Rube Club in Charlotte, and then soon I saw you in the one in Phoenix, and then in Denver, and on and on. I've seen you at RubeCon. Wherever you've seen me, wherever you've heard me, you are more than welcome to reach out with any question you've got, even if I have to tell you no sometimes. But any question you have to Kyle, Kyle, at AmericanIRA.com. And then what we're really excited about is some of the new platforms we're going to have, landing pages to get, since we're a new national sponsor with you now that we are really blessed and so excited about, is that we're going to make it even easier with clicks and everything for folks to get in touch with you. And that's where marketing and you are going to get together on. And it's been great to get to meet Brandon already, even though knowing his schedule's gotten even more tight the past 4 days. But just blessed with all the relationships that we have with everybody, and getting to know William and getting to know Charles and everybody. And it's really a great thing. But again, Kyle Moody, American IRA, 828-412-8123, and Kyle at AmericanIRA.com. You're always more than welcome to go to our website at AmericanIRA.com, play around on there, but you don't even have to worry about, clicking on something to have somebody call you, because now you've got the direct phone number of somebody that you want to speak with.
I love it. And everybody, you definitely need to, if you have an account, you should stop giving all your money to bankers and big companies that just want to keep taking your money. I suggest putting your own life in your own hands. Nobody's going to care about you more than you care about you, and nobody's going to care about your family more than you care about your family. And on top of that, we have American IRA, my friends, that are going to be there to help you out. So, Kyle, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Hey, man, you're quite welcome. And something that I'll tell folks really quickly, if you're like, well, what kind of account, like what can I expect? I mean, that some of these times, like what Dustin was talking about earlier, traditional house type of financial institutions, they're going to take percentages or AUMs or assets under management. Okay, you open up an account with American IRA, we do not charge annual fees on cash-only IRAs. So until that first movement of money, whatever that is, whether it's going to be a distribution, depending on your age, whether it's going to be a transfer out somewhere, or whether it's going to be the investment itself, the time that you ask us to do that first movement of funds, that's when we actually assess your annual fee, and it's either $285 or $450, depending on the account type you choose. All right. The other thing that people really like is that no matter how much your account grew in value on work that you did, not us. Remember, we just sent the money where you told us to send it, but you made all the decisions. You did all the work, so you should be able to keep everything that you earned. We do not penalize our clients by increasing your annual fee based on the growth of your portfolio. We haven't raised the fees in 21 years. We don't intend to do that. And when it was built by investors for investors, the true investor knows it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Love it. Kyle, thank you so much, man. This has been fantastic. And I'm definitely encouraging everybody to come work with you guys, check you guys out. So thanks for being on the show, buddy.
I mean, anytime. Thank you so much, Dustin.